Local news that matters. This is KC24 News Sunrise.
Good morning, I'm Joe Moeller. As the government shutdown heads toward historic territory, President Trump makes his way to the border.
And I'm Stephanie Bainham. This after he characterized his latest meeting with Democrat leaders as a waste of time. Kristen Holmes joins us live from Hidalgo, Texas, where the president is expected later today. It's going to be an interesting day. Good morning, Kristen.
Good morning. Well, in just about an hour and a half, President Trump will leave the White House and head down to where we are, just south of McAllen, Texas. The White House says he will visit a U.S. Border Patrol station. He will participate in an immigration roundtable, and he will be briefed on border security. Now, the big question is how all of this will play into those negotiations to reopen the government as the shutdown continues with no end in sight.
As the government shutdown drags on, President Trump taking his case for a border wall to McAllen, Texas, visiting the U.S.-Mexico border city as negotiations between the White House and Democrats to reopen the government remain stalled over the president's demand for wall funding. The trip coming a day after President Trump walked out of a meeting with Democrats.
He asked Speaker Pelosi, "Will you agree to my wall?" She said no. And he just got up and said, "Then we have nothing to discuss," and he just walked out.
President Trump later tweeting that the discussions were a total waste of time. Vice President Pence defending the president's tactics.
But what the president made clear today is he is going to stand firm to achieve his priorities, to build a wall.
While Republicans on Capitol Hill seemed to be getting anxious.
How can we resolve this? We owe it to the American people. This is like a circus.
I want to try to figure out a way that we're able to reopen quickly.
Meanwhile, 800,000 federal employees remain without a paycheck.
He thinks maybe they could just ask their father for more money, but they can't.
So clearly, Speaker Pelosi, they're taking a jab at President Trump and his wealth. But it should be noted that because the shutdown extended beyond yesterday, that government employees will miss this first paycheck. It was scheduled to go out tomorrow. And we've been hearing from these employees who say this is going to cause a real hardship for many of them. And again, there is still no end in sight. These negotiations seem to be completely stalled. Reporting live from Hidalgo, Texas, I'm Kristen Holmes. Back to you.
Kristen, thank you for that live report. People are expected to rally today back here at home to end this government shutdown. This is being organized by NTEU 97 Fresno. It's happening at 10:30 this morning at the IRS Processing Center on Lane Street between Willow and Peach in Fresno. Stay with us here on KC24 on air and online at yourcentralvalley.com as we continue our coverage of the president's trip to the border.
Meantime, President Trump is threatening to cut off federal disaster funding to deal with California's deadly wildfires. In a tweet, the president says billions of dollars are sent to the state of California for forest fires. That with proper forest management would never happen. Unless they get their act together, which is unlikely, I have ordered FEMA to send no more money. It is a disgraceful situation in lives and money. FEMA is helping thousands of Californians displaced by the Butte County fires to rebuild. Central California Red Cross is not funded by FEMA, but a spokesperson says if the money stops flowing, they could be helping survivors indefinitely.
The Red Cross is still in Butte County assisting for the Camp Fire. It's the largest shelter we are currently in action right now in our organization.
Democratic Congressman Jim Costa sent a statement saying that 60% of California's forest land is overseen by the federal government, and the Camp Fire ignited on federally controlled land in Butte County. Well, we certainly hope you're having a good morning, and now it's time to take a look at your forecast. There's some fog out there.
Yeah, definitely hit the fog on the way in this morning, and so it's might be a little bit of a dangerous drive out there, so you got to be careful. For more on the fog and what we can expect this weekend, here's Lauren.
That's right. Very low visibility across the valley this morning. So basically, no matter where you're traveling, you will run into those very low visibilities. Down to a quarter of a mile in Fresno, Madera, quarter of a mile, Merced, quarter of a mile. And for those of you in Visalia, also starting out very low. So we do have a dense fog advisory in effect until 11 o'clock this morning. And that does apply to the entire Central Valley. So certainly have some issues as you'll be traveling into work this morning. 49 in Fresno now, 48 Madera, 45 if you are in Merced. We have 50 this morning in Hanford. Porterville starting out at 48 degrees. These numbers still about 10 degrees above average, so an above average start to the day, and we'll keep those high temperatures well above average as well. 49 degrees at 8 o'clock this morning. Again, expect areas of dense fog. 55 degrees at noon. Afternoon hours, 56 degrees for your 5 o'clock temperature, and we'll start to see some breaks in the cloud cover just before sunset today. We do have more rain in the forecast as we head towards your weekend, so I'll show you the timing of our next system coming up. First, we'll send it back to Stephanie and Joe.
New this morning, Governor Gavin Newsom will introduce the 2019-2020 state budget today. This will include an outline of his plan to boost spending on services for children. Now, the announcement is happening at 11 o'clock this morning up in Sacramento.
Developing out of Clovis this morning, an investigation is underway after a big rig collided into some parked cars in an apartment. It happened just before 10 o'clock last night on Ashland and Peach. Clovis police say a man driving a semi-truck hit 5 parked cars in an apartment building. No one was injured. Police say the man driving may have crashed because he was on his cell phone. We're told he stayed on scene and is cooperating with the officials.
Fresno County detectives are investigating the first homicide of the year. A man was found dead on the side of the road near Herndon and Dower Avenue yesterday. A driver saw the man on the shoulder of the road. Now, investigators thought it was just a hit and run, but then found out the man had a gunshot wound. It's unclear whether he was killed there at the scene or if his body was dumped there.
We are getting a look now at the man who robbed a bank in downtown Fresno. Investigators released these pictures of the suspect. Police say he's a white male, 50 to 60 years old, thin and around 5'10". He was wearing a white hoodie with a gray shirt underneath. The robbery happened at Bank of the West on Fresno Street and Van Ness around 3:40 yesterday afternoon. He passed a note to the teller demanding cash and said he was armed. We spoke with an eyewitness who was inside the bank when it happened.
When the gentleman reached the door, he just kicked the door open. There are 2 sets of doors. When he reached the second set of door, he kicked that door open. I immediately heard one of the tellers say, "Lock the doors," and at that point you knew that it was a robbery.
Scary stuff. Here's another look at the suspect. The FBI is working with the police, and anyone with information is asked to call the Fresno Police Department.
Now to the South Valley, law enforcement said a final goodbye to a K-9 officer who was killed in the line of duty. Tulare police held a memorial service for Officer Bain yesterday. At least 50 K-9 units from around the valley were there as well. Bain's partner, Ryan Garcia, was also speaking at the event. Last month, they made a traffic stop that led to a shootout. Garcia was hurt, and he says the only reason he survived was because of K-9 Bain.
Had it not been for him, and for a fact, I would not be here today speaking to all of you. I would not have the privilege of spending very valuable time with my loved ones this Christmas.
The Tulare community has helped raise more than $23,000 to bring another K-9 officer to the police department.
What a nice tribute.
Yeah, that's awesome that they were able to raise that much money.
Yeah.
It's good that they did the tribute for them. 50 dogs from around the valley, K-9 officers.
Amazing.
Really cool to hear that.
Yeah.
All right, time now. It's 5:08 here on Sunrise. Still ahead, a shark traps a surfer in his jaws near San Luis Obispo. We'll tell you about this attack next. And here is a live look over Fresno. A little foggy out there. We'll have Lauren on the other side of the break as well. Tell us about what you can expect.